Today, like I said earlier on, I'm starting where my husband left off last week. He spoke about last week of the temptation in the garden and the serpent, and he finished at verse 9. And I'm going to do verse 9 through 13. And this is Genesis chapter 3, starting from verse 9 through verse 13. Interesting. And the title of the message today is The Blame Game. My husband and I went through, and he said, "What do you want to preach on?" And I said, honey, I don't quite know, but something in the Spirit is saying, continue where you left off. And I'm still leaving some of it for him to finish up, because he spoke to me about some things that really baffles me. So I would like him to finish that part. I don't want to go into his territory. I'll stay in mine. But today, from verse 9, it says, "And the Lord God called unto Adam, and said unto him, Where art thou? And he said, I heard thy voice in the garden, and I was afraid, because I was naked, and I hid myself. And he said, Who told thee that thou wast naked? Hast thou eaten of the tree wherefore I command thee that thou shouldest not eat? And the man said, The woman whom thou gavest to me to be with me, she gave me the tree. And I did eat. And the Lord God said unto the woman, What is this that thou hast done? And the woman said, The serpent beguiled me, and I did eat. That's it. I don't even have to tell you all what this is saying to all of us. How is it so easy to blame someone, to point fingers, to justify why I did what I did, because you hurt me, because you did something to me. This goes on. So when I work with people, I always tell them, the blame game is an old story from the Bible. And it started with Adam and Eve in the garden. And when Adam saw his wife, Eve, at the time eating the fruit, he has the power in himself to say, don't eat that fruit. Didn't God tell you not to eat that fruit? But like my husband said last week, Adam's heart was right there with Eve, because he wants what they couldn't have. And this is our biggest problem. We always want what we can't have. And the unfortunate thing about it, we're so busy looking at our neighbor or our friend or everybody else, except looking at what God has blessed us with. There's not a person in here that is not being blessed by God, has not been blessed by God. And how many of us take time to thank Him? How many of us look at ourselves and say, oh my God, you have been so good to me, and spend time being so gracious and grateful to God, instead of spending time, if only I have more money, if only I have this, if only I have that. Gloria has something I could use, or this one has everything, or that one. Can you understand the ungratefulness within us to be even thinking like that? To spend time just thinking of what we don't have, instead of spending time thanking God for what we do have. Yes. It is so sad, and it is everywhere. Don't think it's you alone. We all have the problems. But once we are walking with God, He will show us where we are going wrong. He will pull us in, and He will say, aren't you grateful? Look at all the things that I've given you. Look at everything that I've provided for you. Number one, life. He has given us life. We woke up this morning and we have health and strength, and we are here today. Amen. So how many of us is thanking God for that? I looked at nature and I thought how people are so ungrateful that they don't even look around to see the beauty of God. He's in everything. Those little birds speak to us. The little flowers. We're walking and there's some tiny, delicate little flowers. And they just look up and I'm like, look at God. How can we not see God in everything? in his nature, in his provision, in everything. Instead of being like Adam and Eve, Adam was the man with the authority. Adam's heart wanted what Eve's heart wanted. If not, he would have taken action, and he didn't. And Eve, on the other hand, blames the serpent. So when God came to the garden, of course, they were clothed in righteousness before they ate of the tree of life. There, the tree that God told them not to eat. So when they found out that they were naked, because now the clothes of righteousness was removed from them, and they were in their natural clothes, their natural body, so they could see their nakedness. And that's why they run to find fig leaf to cover the nakedness. You know, how many times we do that? How many times we commit the same action, the same thing, and we run around looking for fig leaf to cover it up. You know, we ever think about it? How many times we try to cover up our problem? But the good thing about this is that when God, it's amazing how good God is. When he came and he said I heard thy voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, I hid myself. A lot of times when we are in situation, God's voice just comes right in. And guess what happened? We hide. We escape to other things. We try to find justification for what we're doing instead of getting into the presence of God. He said, I was naked and I hid myself. And he said, who told thee that thou wast naked? Hast thou eaten of the tree whereof I commanded thee that thou shouldest not eat? And the man said, the woman, whom thou gavest to me, to be with me, she gave me the tree. He should be ashamed of himself. I'm serious. He should be ashamed of himself, the woman. And then God said to the woman, he said, what is this that thou hast done? And the woman said, the serpent. Pointing fingers, blaming. And God turned around, the serpent beguiled me, and I did eat. How is it so easy for us to blame, point fingers, justify? This is because you did this for me. That's why I reacted the way I reacted. Do we ever stop to think that we have eaten of the fruit and that person is just pushing a button that we need to clean up? It's so easy to blame someone. It's make life so much easier for us. And it also makes us feel good. We feel good because we are the good person. If you didn't hurt me, T, I couldn't do anything about that. But I am focusing on what T had done to me instead of focusing on why. Why? The woman you gave me. Can you imagine? The woman you gave me. And some of the times when we are blaming others, if we would stop to think about, what is God doing to me in this situation? Why is this pushing my button? Why am I hurt? Because somebody said that to me. Why? Because God is doing something to me. He's trying to show me myself. Yeah. Look at Adam and Eve. Is there any difference? None. Before they ate of the fruit in the garden, they were one flesh in clothes of righteousness. They didn't even know they were naked. The moment they had that fruit, everything is exposed. Everything is open. It's the same thing with us. When we go out there and we take on that fruit and we bite into it, and then all we have to say is, my husband gave it to me. It sounds good, huh? But why did I not say to my husband, I don't want it? You can eat it. I won't. Why? Because our heart is in the same place. We want the same thing. And that was what was going on with Adam and Eve. God knows. He put them in the garden for a test. He already knows that they're weak in their heart. Because everything comes back to your heart. If your heart is in the right place, you won't quickly judge your neighbor, your brother, your sister, your husband, your wife. You will look at, what is it going on? What is God telling me here? Now, it's a very difficult thing to accept, because who wants to be the bad one? None of us here want to be the bad one. We always want to be good and look good and feel good. But if we would just stop and listen to what God is saying to us. What he's saying, you're disobedient. He's saying that you have done something that I want to clean out of you, that I want to make you a better person. So that's why I send that person to push your button, so you can get the dirt out, so you can be in righteousness, so you can be the woman or the man of God that I can use. Aswell said something yesterday, and it just ministered to me, and he said, a lot of times God will allow things to happen to you, not because of what you had done, but he allowed it so that you can walk through it, so you can be able to help someone. The whole idea is that when someone comes to you with the same problem that you had gone through, you are not going to look down your nose on them and say, I did it, you can do it. You're going to have mercy, you're going to have sympathy, and you're going to have love for that person. And you are going to be able to say, God had helped me through this, and he can help you through this. The key here is blaming, justifying the dirt that we do to each other, not realizing that we are a reflection of ourselves in people. Everywhere you travel with yourself, and you're a mirror looking in on yourself. And so, I don't know for any one of you, but you'll be all about your business, and somebody just came up and they're nasty. And you just feel bad for that person, and you just think, what did I do to that person? Why did God send that nasty person to you? And sometimes you might have been nasty too. Or he's telling you that person is pushing something that you, very likely the same thing, that you're guilty of, to get out of your system. And this is why this is so important today, for us to take a look at ourselves. Stop blaming. Stop blaming. I was reading an article last night, and the lady said, her son got into drugs with this young man who was visiting their house, and he overdosed. But the young man that brought the drugs to the house is alive. So she hated him, and she thought he should die. He should have died too. Mm-hmm. And when I was reading it, I said, so you're blaming the young man for giving your son the drugs. And you actually felt that the young man killed your son. What were you doing in the meantime? Why was your son taking drugs at that early age? He was just 18. What happened to you? No responsibility. It's his fault, the blaming game. And let's face it, as a mother, all of us in that position would want to do the same thing. But if you know God in you at all, the first thing you look at is yourself. What God is saying today is we are at a place where we need him, and more than ever. We need Jesus now more than ever. And we must spend time to look inside of us. Look at our heart. Look at where we are with God. And why certain things keep happening over and over to us. What's wrong? What's wrong with me? Why God is allowing this? What do I need to do? Not what that person did, not that why I'm doing it because I'm justified to do it, but what is wrong with me that I need to take care of. What are the things that, and he will use different people to reflect you. He will use different things and different situations to reflect you, to show you who you are. But we're so busy looking at who pushing the button and who causing the problem than looking inside. God is working with our hearts. And that's what he wants us to look at. Stop blaming. All of us, stop blaming. Look at yourself and look at what God is doing and look at your heart, what your heart is saying. Because a lot of times I sat with people and they're telling me things and their heart is as evil as it comes. But they're talking all the nice things. Let's look at our heart today. Let's not go back to Adam and Eve in the garden. That's where it started. You did it. The woman you gave me, and you go back. It's the enemy, the snake that beguiled me. No responsibility. Not taking responsibility is the worst thing that we can do to ourselves. It's easier said than done. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's worth everything, because one thing you will know out of this, you'll be a free agent. You'll feel better about yourself, you'll feel better about your life, and you open the door for God to do a lot more good things for you. A lot of times we do not know that the heart attitude that we have is so bad that it blocks God. It's like a division between us and God. He can't come in. He can't penetrate because we are too evil in our heart. And it's all kind of things. We're full of jealousy, full of greed, full of, even ambition can be bad because we have wanted for the wrong reason. And so what we do, we lock God out. We set up a barrier that he can't come in. But when you free yourself, when you stop justifying the evil that you have done, when you stop blaming people for what you have done or what God is talking to you about, when you started to get to know God and to have a proper relationship with him, then you can have the freedom of being a woman or a man of God. And that's my message for today. Renee, you turn it off?
No. Show me.
Turn it off.
The red button?
Yeah.
Press it again.
Yeah.
Press the red button.